You're now enrolled in the school of BlackNegroJitsu. Is it your first day? Don't worry. The master, LaRoss Stephan, and his co-instructors, David, Mike, will take it easy on you, rookie. Whether you're attending class here at the School of BlackNegroJitsu for the first time or the 101st time, I want you to become an official enrollee. I want you to become a permanent student here. All you have to do, you don't have to pay a price. Whether you're on Google Play, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, whatever platform you're listening on, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Get enrolled in all of our classes. It's free. Do it. Hit the subscribe button. Before we get into this podcast, big shout out to our sponsor, Ball Club Box at ballclubbox.com. Ball Club Box is a sports apparel provider that provides their subscribers with monthly gift boxes full of quality licensed sports merchandise that reflects their customer support for their team. Usually these items only appear at specific stadiums or sports stores, but they intend to make it easier to customers to support their desired franchise without leaving their homes, and in some cases state by offering this subscription service. You pick the teams, they pick the items and send them to you each month. There's 3 different boxes. You got the club box, $55 for $75 worth of apparel. The executive club box, $75 for $125 worth of apparel. And the ball club season pass. That's the deal right there. That's $150 for 3 $75 boxes worth $125 each. That's $375 worth of stuff. That's $225 more than you paid. Ballclubbox.com. Go check it out. I'm telling you, they're the shiz. Also, do me a favor. Go check out Kobe's Corner. That's Kobe with a K. Corner with a K. I hope there's not another K. But go check out Kobe's Corner on YouTube. Also, go check out Kobe'sCorner.com. That's 2 Ks. I'm a writer for the site. Kobe did the intro. Good friend of mine. Great YouTube channel. Analysis, breakdown of fights. Of course, articles by me and other MMA journalists, podcasters, whatnot. Kobe's Corner, man. Go check it out. One of the fastest growing YouTube channels for MMA and one of the best online. It's fight day. The notorious Conor McGregor versus Floyd Money Mayweather live tonight on pay-per-view. Welcome to Class 8 of the School of BlackNegroJitsu. Thank you very much for enrolling today. I'm your host, Master of BlackNegroJitsu, LaRoss Stephan. My usual co-instructors, Dave and Mike, are missing, but I got a very special guest co-instructor joining me today. It's Kobe from Kobe's Corner, live from Canada. We got one of our favorite Canadians on today. We're going to be talking all things Mayweather-McGregor. The only thing not Mayweather-McGregor is Jon Jones Pissing Hot. Then at the end, I've got a very special interview with Jason Parillo, boxing coach, and maybe the best boxing coach in all of mixed martial arts, for such top stars as Chris Cyborg, Michael Bisping, BJ Penn. He's been one of the top boxing coaches in the sport for a couple fight generations now. But like I said, all things Mayweather-McGregor, the Conor Floyd weigh-in, Oscar De La Hoya talking trash about the fight, Gervonta Davis missing weight and forfeiting his title, all the technical aspects of the fight. We're just going to talk everything. We're going to talk Jon Jones Pissing Hot. And then, of course, at the end, I got a very special treat for you. Jason Parillo, boxing coach, one of the top boxing coaches of all of mixed martial arts. We're going to sit down and talk this fight and break it down. But before we get into that, I've got referee Bobby Weinbacker on to talk about a very special cause that I want all you guys to support. Let's check it out. Bobby Weinbacker, welcome to the School of BlackNegroJitsu. You've got a very good and wonderful cause to talk about here. Go ahead and educate our fans about that. Plug the fan page and tell them how they can help this young man out here who's in need of help right now.
Absolutely. His name's Clint Hornbuckle. I went to school with him in Taylorville, Illinois, and that's where he still resides. And he's got 2 young kids in California and a baby on the way. And he's got leukemia. They just discovered it, I don't know, 36, 38 days ago, something like that. So it's still fairly new. And he's been in Barnes Cancer Center there in St. Louis for the last 36, 37 days. I don't know the exact number. but he's encountered many obstacles, pneumonia, just you name it, and the families went through it. And he's out of work, and he's a big MMA fan and boxing fan, and I just want to direct everybody to their Facebook page. It's Hornbuckle Warriors, and donate what you can, and help one of our own out. So that's my message, and something that I would like to see happen.
So Hornbuckle Warriors, if people are interested in helping out, go ahead. All you enrollees, students at the School of BlackNegroJitsu, go check it out, and let's help Hornbuckle out, man. Thanks a lot for coming on again, Bobby Weinbacker, and thanks for having such a wonderful heart to help this young man out. And I hope you guys, all my students, will as well. You heard Bobby Weinbacker, Hornbuckle's Warriors. Go check it out on Facebook. I'm going to include the link in the description so you can go and check them out and donate. But let's get right into Class 8. I'm here with Kobe from Kobe's Corner. As I promised, what's good, Kobe?
What's up, man? Very grateful to be here with you on the morning of the night of the big fight, Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather. It all goes down. I cannot wait, brother.
My very special co-instructor for today, Kobe from Kobe's Corner on the School of BlackNegroJitsu. We've got a lot on tap for you guys. Of course, the big fight is tonight. And at the end of this, we got the Jason Parillo interview. But let's get right into it. Conor McGregor officially 153.5 pounds. Floyd Mayweather 149.5 pounds. I'm thinking that Conor McGregor is going to come in at 170 and Floyd is going to stay about right there. So, in my humble opinion here, I kind of feel like this size advantage is going to be significant in the clinch and in all the type of grappling exchanges we should see early. I know Maidana was able to tie Floyd Mayweather up really good and land some terrible punches. I think Conor McGregor can get the same thing done, and I think this weight advantage is definitely going to play in because he is a much bigger man. And after I watched that Maidana fight, I became even more convinced that Conor McGregor could have very good success roughing Floyd up, especially because Maidana is a little bit shorter than Floyd. Conor is bigger. He's taller and he's much bigger. Kobe, what do you think the size advantage that Conor McGregor is coming in with, how it plays into this fight? Do you think it's significant? How do you feel about it? Do you even think Floyd is ready for it? Because Floyd was hearing that he was 165 and kind of scoffing at it and thinking that he was way overweight. But that's how mixed martial arts do it just like wrestlers. You cut that last 20 pounds or so within the last week, and then you blow back up. What do you think about the size advantage that we saw at the weigh-ins?
Well, I think you're correct in that it could be significant for Conor McGregor. These are all X factors and intangibles and variables that we're going to find out. The problem with the clinch, I believe anyway, for Conor McGregor is the lack of reps. And we really don't even have a sample size to look at. And that's part of the problem because he has no boxing fights. So if you're going to examine 16 seconds of tape versus Paulie Malinaggi, what Conor McGregor showed me in those moments is that he landed a few nice left hands, because I'm not just going to talk about the things that I don't think went well, but if we're going to talk about the clinch, we've seen him commit several fouls. We've seen him do a few things that could be perceived or, in my opinion, are dirty. He punched him in the back of the head. He was rabbit punching. He's grabbing him by the back of the head. All of those things illegal under the Queensberry boxing rules. And people have to remember.
That's what Maidana did.
Right. So now the ref becomes the ever so important component and piece to this fight. What does Robert Byrd allow? And how far does he allow Conor McGregor to go? Does Conor McGregor sacrifice points to land those punches to set up a left hand later? It's entirely possible that he gives up one just to get an advantage on the inside. But the boxing clinch and the MMA clinch are two completely different places. And again, it goes back to reps and Conor not having the experience in the clinch, in the boxing ring. I think it's great that he brought Joe Cortez in, and I do firmly believe that he was there to help him understand the Queensberry boxing rules. But I think Robert Byrd will ultimately be the deciding factor on the size advantage. And you got to look at maybe a guy like Ortiz, where Floyd tied him up at will and then was able to separate and get back to distance. Floyd knows how to fight on the inside. Floyd knows how to fight on the outside. Whether or not Conor can effectively do that in the boxing ring, these are all still question marks. If he's technically sound, he could make this. This could be a major impact, absolutely. But I don't think we can definitively conclude anything.
I mean, I'm now personally me. I'm picking McGregor. I think that Floyd has made a lot of mistakes in this last week. First of all, he hadn't fought even before this last week, he hadn't fought in about 2 years. Second of all, he's 40 years old, and you never know when somebody's going to get old in the ring. Third of all, he's a much smaller man in this contest, and then fourth of all, he's got terrible hands, and he switched the gloves to 8 ounces, which I think is because the glove is mainly to protect your hand. It's not to protect the person from a concussive blow. It's for your hands. And with how many precautions he has to take to make sure that even if he does break it, they have to medicate his hands and everything. I think this is a terrible move on his part. I just feel like everything is like, maybe if this was 10 years ago and these were 10-ounce gloves and Floyd wasn't so much smaller, I would give Floyd the fight. But this is I just really believe this is going to be a fight. Floyd is willing to let people beat on him, and I think that he could take a beating in the corner that he might not recover from here. That's why I'm picking Conor McGregor. But how do you see this fight playing out? Do you think Floyd will be able to avoid the clinch? He usually invites people to come on the ropes and beat him up, and he looks to counter and stuff like that. I don't think that's a strategy that's going to be effective here. I think who he is could hurt him here, or who he's been for 49 fights could finally play against him. What do you think?
I think those are interesting points. They're all fair. I think you're looking at things from an outside of the box perspective, which is always good, especially in a situation like this where you have something so unique, right? We have a mixed martial arts fighter crossing over the water, out of the octagon, into the boxing ring. I'm not quite on the same page as you, but I certainly do respect your ideas, and they may come to fruition. Look, Conor is the bigger man, absolutely. But if Floyd can use his speed, his quickness, and his experience, those things are going to supersede size. And let's go back to the weight for a moment. I think Paulie Malinaggi said Conor was around 168 last month. I've cut weight several times, so I do understand the process. This is the first time Conor McGregor has ever cut 412-3s professionally in his life. So this is a brand new weight cut for him. And what we know about his performances inside the UFC is that he maximizes his output, right? And he tends to get tired later on. That's not because Conor McGregor isn't in shape. That's because he throws so hard. There's smoke coming off those gloves. The guy hits like a Mack truck. So the first 3-4 rounds become ever so important in this fight. If Floyd can figure out the different reads, the broken timing, the unorthodox entries, if Floyd can take care of understanding Conor's attack early, what is plan B? There is no plan B. Plan B is to box. So the things that Conor's bringing to this ring, this unorthodox style, this unstructured nature, all of these new looks, right? These different stances. What if these things don't work? He has to box. There's no way around it.
I have to talk about the fatigue. Now,
sure,
that's in a fight with grappling, and also, more importantly, even if they're not grappling, the kicks. The most important part about that is the kicks. And kicks are extraordinarily fatiguing to throw, and it takes a special kind of conditioning in order to throw kicks for more than about a round. We've seen it with Yair Rodriguez. He's been able to adapt as he learned that he was only lasting a round and a half before he was gassing with throwing all those kicks. Now, Conor McGregor won't be throwing any kicks in this point. So how bad does he fatigue just throwing punches? I mean, and without the anaerobic challenge of wrestling. Now it's just an aerobic activity of striking. So he's not nearly in the same type of mode he was with Nate Diaz, where he was dealing with wrestling and grappling exchanges, where he was throwing a lot of kicks to the lead leg. Remember, that's how he was wearing Nate down. I mean, that stuff is absolutely grueling. and he won't have to deal with that in this fight. So, do you still think fatigue is so much of a factor without the kicks and the wrestling?
No, not early on. And I think you made some good points. And the cardio should be better minus the kicks, minus the wrestling, minus the grappling. But let's look at this for a moment. This is an interesting statistic and part of this fight that I think a lot of people are ignoring. Conor McGregor has thrown kicks in every single one of his mixed martial arts bouts. Against Max Holloway, he threw 7 kicks. Right off the opening ding, he threw a wheel kick. He throws teep kicks. He doesn't throw real heavy, hard, high energy kicks. He uses them for spacing, for distancing. Yes, he's going to hurt you if he lands, but he sets up to make you think maybe he's kicking next, and then he explodes, closes space, and uses hands. So he's either explosively kicking or he's explosively punching, but he's using a lot of energy during the output of any kind of attack that he has. But I'll even go back to the Jose Aldo fight. He used a stepping side kick to the thigh of Jose Aldo, which helped him ultimately land the punch. In this fight, it's one-dimensional, right? He only has hands. And I do believe early on he is full of piss and vinegar, and I don't think the cardio is an issue early on. The cardio might not be an issue at all. But there is a chance if Floyd is tagging him, especially to the body, the cardio can be a factor because of punishment. And that's sort of what happens in boxing. I spent 7 years doing it. When you're getting tagged up, the power bar goes down. You lose energy. The better shape you're in, the more punishment you can absorb. In MMA, they don't hit to the body the same way. And that's why boxers call it money in the bank, because it pays such big dividends down the road. And if Floyd is touching the body early, that's to set up Conor fatiguing later. It's possible, maybe not. I think the man's in fantastic shape. I think he's prepared to the best of his ability. I think cardio, if it becomes an issue for Conor McGregor, will not be till round 6 to 12.
Okay, all right, interesting points. I don't really think it becomes a factor at all. I think this will be one of the easier cardio, especially with Floyd's low output and Conor's kind of low output. This could kind of be a very low output match at the beginning of things outside of the grappling and type exchanges. It's going to be some very interesting rounds early on as these guys try and figure out what the other is trying to do, especially with Conor's unorthodox approach. But it's
can Conor win this fight with low output? That's one of the things I think that if we're going to talk about him putting Floyd in the corner and being the bully, which actually in my first technical breakdown was one of my keys to victory and a possible way Conor can win this fight, and he's not the first guy to try to do this. You can't bully Floyd Mayweather and not throw. So Conor throws 12 significant strikes a minute over a course, or 12 significant strikes a minute. So if you do the math, he's throwing around 300 significant strikes over 25 minutes, and a best case scenario, I don't even think he keeps up that pace. Floyd might throw 500 jabs, over 12 rounds. So I think Conor's output absolutely has to increase in this fight. He is not going to be able to sit back and patiently utilize lead hand control to deliver the straight left because, again, under the Queensberry boxing rules, he can't measure the same way. He's not allowed to leave his right hand out there for long periods of time to set up the left hand. So output for me is a concerning factor, and I think Conor is going to need to throw in much greater volume in this fight to beat Floyd.
I do agree, especially with that Philly shell. Even if he is landing at low output because of Floyd's conservative defensive style, and this is what all the people that use the Philly shell, even if you're not landing efficient, clean, high-scoring strikes according to the Marcus of Queensberry's rules. Right. You need to be the only way you're going to land the type of strikes to win a fight against a guy with that kind of conservative defensive approach is to really volume and really make the exchanges emphatically be on your side and try and do damage so that the precision and counter strikes that the Philly shell user lands could not seem so significant. That being said, I think it'll be low output while it's at distance, but of course when it gets in distance, I think this is all Conor McGregor all the time. I mean, one of my theories has really been that I think that Floyd Mayweather has consistently been a very big fish in a small pond of boxing, and that boxing is no longer drawing the very best of the best athletes anymore. They're not bringing in the George Foreman, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard type athletes. All those guys are playing basketball and football. If you go to boxing gyms, they're relatively empty. A lot of these guys are fighting a lot of the same guys coming up from junior nationals to nationals to the Olympic team. They're fighting the same people pretty much to the pros, you know. And I think this is probably the very best athlete that Floyd Mayweather has faced ever. I mean, Oscar De La Hoya and Sugar Shane Mosley and Manny Pacquiao were very wonderful athletes during the prime of their careers, but Floyd Mayweather ducked them during the prime of their careers, and he's going to be facing Conor McGregor in the approaching the prime of his career, and a guy that's much bigger than him at 155, about 170 pounds walking around. It's my theory that this increased athleticism is going to result in a speed advantage and an explosiveness advantage, especially at 40. That's much more less pronounced. What do you think of the athleticism of Conor McGregor compared to his previous opponents? I think that, you know, when he fought Zab Judah and that's why Zab gave him such a tough fight, because he's just as good of an athlete. Here we go again with another explosive, fast, powerful athlete in Conor McGregor. And I think this is going to spell trouble for Floyd, because he's just not facing that fight in the fight out. He's facing great boxers, but not top of the line A-class athletes.
What I like about this podcast right now is we're on different sides of the spectrum in terms of who we think is going to win. Yet at the same time, I can appreciate you making some fantastic points. I really liked what you said about the Philly shell. Look, I'm going to look at it like this, okay? Do you think, in your opinion, is Nate Diaz the best fighter in the UFC?
I of course do not.
Of course do not. Neither do I. I love me some Nate Diaz. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. So I'm not crapping on Nate Diaz here. I want to be clear about that to anybody listening. I love Nate Diaz. Conor was broken and beaten by Nate Diaz. Then he beat Nate Diaz. I'm one of the people that supported him winning the second fight. He barely got by Nate Diaz, okay? Barely got by Nate Diaz, who was on one leg.
One thing, Nate Diaz is significantly more experienced than Conor McGregor at that point in his career. And he won the fight. He was one of winning the fight because of some veteran things that Conor McGregor had not yet learned. When you go out and you steamroll everybody, especially in those lower weight classes, you develop some habits and things that aren't necessarily prime for championship competition. And when he went up against a bigger guy, Nate Diaz, he was beating the tar out of him, but he got tired in the first fight. In the second fight, once again, beating him up. But Nate Diaz is just a tough out. But, I mean, that's, styles make fights and weight classes. All that stuff factors in. But I just don't, it's just my opinion that, Floyd just isn't facing great. He's just the fastest, most explosive guy in his sport, it seems. And I don't know if he actually is, like, one of the most fastest, explosive people in the world.
Really, what I'm getting at with that is if Conor hasn't beaten the best in his own sport, and he has beaten Jose Aldo, I'm not saying he hasn't beaten the best. Conor's not the best fighter in the UFC. Okay. So how is he going to be the greatest boxer ever? And you spoke about, it's interesting because you had mentioned with the second fight with Nate Diaz, a veteran guy with much more experience that was in there that knew things that Conor didn't, that had been in waters Conor hadn't. And from being in the gym and in the ring and the gym and the cage, I can tell you there are things that you cannot learn in the practice room. They can only be experienced in the moment. Conor has never boxed professionally. So you're dealing with somebody in Floyd Mayweather that has a wealth of experience and knows how to micromanage every square centimeter of that boxing ring. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, Conor does have a chance to win this fight. I have not written him off. I am not writing him off. His chances lie, in my opinion, in the fact that Floyd Mayweather is 40, like you said, that Floyd Mayweather has been laid up for 2 years, like you said, that Conor McGregor should be bigger and faster, like you said, and that he has a 2-inch reach advantage. Those are the real dangers to Floyd Mayweather here. When it comes to pure boxing or looking at that comparison, there is no comparison. There isn't. Right? Yeah. I've gone back and done the film study on Floyd Mayweather. The dude is beyond brilliant. And Conor McGregor will never touch him as a boxer. But if he lands a left hand, it could spell trouble. And then we also have to look at the orthodox versus southpaw scenario, which I think some people are blowing out of proportion. You mentioned the Zab Judah fight, which I really loved. He landed a nice check right hook, almost dropped Floyd Mayweather. Floyd is 9-0 against southpaws. He's gotten better against every single left-hander he's faced because he's gotten more used to it. 10% of fighters are left-handers. So orthodox fighters rarely see lefties, but lefties always see righties. The jab is the least effective punch for a southpaw, so Conor's attack will be predicated on the left hand in this fight. So Floyd has to really avoid one weapon. So, I mean, could we not even perceive that maybe he might use spacing and distancing and point fighting to just win a decision? Surely he could outbox Conor McGregor. If Conor didn't go out there and take apart Van Heerden, and Paulie Malinaggi lasted 12 rounds, right? If that's the 15 seconds we've seen, let's give Paulie 6 of the 12 and Conor 6 of the 12. Let's give Conor McGregor 8 of the 12. If an out of shape Paulie Malinaggi, if you're not putting him away every round, how are you expected to be the greatest of all time, who looks like he's in fantastic shape himself? Yes, we're on different ends of the spectrum, but you make some fantastic points, man.
Here's my point, though. All right, now we talked about southpaw versus orthodox. Hold it now. The one of the biggest. All right, before I get to that point, though, Conor McGregor has more than just 2 points of contact available. We all know that off a hook, as Floyd used against Victor Ortiz, elbows can be landed effectively off your technical hook. And that's how boxing trainers teach you to throw. Floyd should be facing 4 points of contact in this fight. 5 if you count the head. I don't think that Conor will throw any intentional headbutts, but he'll definitely be dealing with some Maidana / Sean Porter style face grinding. I don't know if you're familiar with the style of Porter.
Sure, I understand what you're saying. It makes sense.
Exactly. He's dealing with 4 points of contact in this fight. So, yes, it's 2 points of contact at range. I really don't see, Conor McGregor mystifying him with anything at range, or maybe so, because he might do some very unorthodox things. But I know about the southpaw versus orthodox narrative, but this fight, I think it just comes down to the fact that it should be won in the clinch, and there's more than just 2 weapons to be used close in. Those elbows should really come in, especially if Floyd gets cut. Something that worried me when I was watching Floyd versus Maidana was the fact that Floyd got cut and he reacted like a wimp. And I didn't like that. And that was the first time in his career he got cut. And he didn't react well to it. He was complaining about the blood in his eyes. He wasn't handling it well. He was talking to Stitch, talking about, get me right, man. I can't see nothing. Like, that's not good. And
did he win the fight?
He won the fight, but it showed something. It showed that although Floyd Mayweather's work is perfect, his boxing record is perfect, there's things that we have never learned about him because of the proficiency of his defensive style. And if Conor McGregor can get in here and work, and especially get one of those bows off of a hook like Floyd did to Victor Ortiz, and we see Floyd bleed, we could see, just to be, point straightforward, we could see bitch in him that we've never seen before. Because I seen it against Maidana. Not to say Floyd Mayweather's a coward or he lacks heart or anything like that, but when you know from fighting, that when you get cut, when you start bleeding, we have natural human reactions that you never know. Like you said, you never know about till it happens to you. And I think if Floyd gets cut, man, that could be an incredible obstacle that he'll have to overcome, because I don't think he dealt with it well when I saw him bleed for the first time in that Maidana fight.
Yeah, that's a great point, man, and one I haven't heard anybody make. And I guess you kind of got to look at the other end of the spectrum in the fight with Nate Diaz, the first one where Conor ate one clean combination. It was a straight 1-2. It was a big shot, but that broke him. I mean, that fight, Nate Diaz won the fight with the 1-2. He's finished the fight with the rear naked. But Conor
look, Nate
mentally
Diaz is
and physically broke. That's true. That's true.
He's
but that
190 pounds.
doesn't. But I don't think Floyd Mayweather is gonna look to knock him out in limited space. I don't think he needs to really be in his face. That's not really who Floyd Mayweather is. So it really becomes about, for me in this fight, whether or not these unorthodox weapons that you spoke about, this unstructured style, these new things, if Conor McGregor brings them to the ring and they don't work, what's plan B? If they work and he can land, he wins this fight. There's no question that the bigger, stronger man, especially Conor McGregor, who I think pound for pound is one of the hardest punchers in the world, and throughout this boxing campaign, you better believe he hits harder. He's going to go back to the UFC a better puncher and a better power puncher, because boxers specifically focus on technique and execution of technique, right? Proper fundamentals. I will guarantee you he's a better puncher when he goes back to MMA in terms of power punching, right? But I don't see Floyd as having to stay in his face and finish him that way. If he wants to, but to stay on the outside and outbox Conor McGregor, I'm having a hard time understanding why so many people have writing off the greatest ever. It's a bit baffling to me personally. That's just my take.
I think that at distance, I don't know if this fight is as interesting as we're making it out to be, because both these guys are counter strikers. Right. I definitely think that Floyd has the advantage, but we know where this fight is to be won. And like I said, man, Floyd dealing with blood and then dealing with the possibility of one of those hands going bad during this fight, even though I'm aware that he medicates his hands with lidocaine and some other stuff. So even if it does break, he should be able to get through it. He'll be able to notice it, but it shouldn't be an intense pain anymore that stops him from using those tools. But Nate Diaz, man, Nate Diaz is a big dude. He's got about 50 pounds on Floyd Mayweather. So I don't see Conor McGregor being broken by one of those big boy punches like he was in that Nate Diaz fight. This is a different situation here. We're dealing with a small frame guy. Nate Diaz is a big dude. But Nate
Diaz don't knock anybody out with one punch, though. He's a volume guy too, and he's not known as a power puncher. And I think people kind of inflate how heavy he was in that second fight.
Well, I think it was fatigue plus.
For sure it was. Absolutely. There you go. Bang on the money. So if Conor's getting touched up to the body and he's tired, he gets tagged. I mean, that's when guys start to fall apart. And you pointed it out with the cut, which I like. So we got to look at, I love that you use that example, because I gave you one where we seen almost some faltering on the line of the brink of falling apart. And we each provided an example. So I think that's interesting in this case study that we're doing, to look at it from both sides. So I thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, man, that cut is super significant, because in that Maidana fight, Floyd did not figure out how to get out of that brawl. I mean, he kind of technically worked his way through it, but his slowing down as an athlete and stuff like that, I mean, all that stuff went together, and he really didn't figure out that I don't even know if he won that fight. I thought it was very, very close. He definitely won the last few rounds. He definitely won those late championship rounds. But
he definitely beat him the second time. He figured him out.
Yes, he did. But in that first time, he was perplexed, and he was not doing well in the dog areas of the fight. And that when he got cut like that, man, that made me think, like, that's not a champion. That's not how a champion acts when he gets cut.
Where have you seen Conor in the dog in Conor, right? Even if you look at the UFC stuff, the second fight, right? You got to give Conor credit for winning round 4. I absolutely did. And I'm like, for anyone listening, I'm a huge Conor supporter. I've put it out there time and time again. I've done case studies and technical breakdowns. I believe he won the second fight with Nate Diaz. He took out the lead leg in round 1. which took all the power on Nate's punches. It took away his mobility. It was my key to victory. It was extremely smart. Conor can't kick in this fight. So Nate Diaz was never working with a full hand. I don't believe in that fight. And despite being on one leg, still won the fifth and final round. And we see moments in that fight where Conor McGregor started to turn his back, run away, try to catch his breath. Yes, he turned around and re-engaged. I'm not one of these people that criticizes him for running, but I'm pointing out we've seen him on the brink of losing it in that fight. He almost went down the same well he did in the first fight. To his credit, he did not. But we don't have a lot of wars to look at. We don't have a lot of him going the distance, right? We have 4 fights that ended in round 1, 2 or 3 that ended in round 2. There's not a lot of octagon time in 10 fights.
Yeah,
so Floyd's last 10 fights. Sorry,
beating against Chad Mendez that he
did,
through.
And he found his way to his feet. Body head finish. Chad Mendez was completely gassed. He was off the couch.
Mendez was kicking his ass though. Man.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
Shit out of him, and Conor didn't break. So I've seen a dog in Conor before, man.
I've seen both. I've seen the dog in him, and I've also seen him fall apart. So you got to wonder who shows up. I like that you pointed that out because I agree with you. But
okay, yeah.
Who shows up, right?
Yeah, but here's my point. I think this is one of the best points. I heard Joe Rogan say it, and I thought it was kind of some BS. But Floyd Mayweather and his camp are legitimately afraid of this turning into a real fight. Because they know if it were to, Conor McGregor would whip his ass in terrible ways. Now, the thing about that for me is, this perplexes me. Because he's never been in the ring with somebody who he didn't believe that he could actually beat up. I mean, he doesn't believe, outside of the Marcus of Queensberry's rules, that he can beat Conor McGregor. And as time goes on and I see these two interactions, I see the contractual stipulations and penalties for a scuffle. Like, Floyd Mayweather is afraid of this man, but is confident that under the Queensberry rules, I can beat him because that's what I do. But he actually is, as a martial artist, intimidated and afraid about the prospects of being beaten and defeated. And I think that that's a very unique thing, and it kind of has shown, man, like, this dude has no confidence that he's the superior animal to Conor McGregor. He knows he's not. And if this
what
fight
evidence
gets
do you have to support that? Like because I'm looking at this. Floyd has handed Conor every significant and stylistic or point of matchup he's had to offer. He gave him 8-ounce gloves, right? He gave him a referee that are going to let them go. Go look at the Corley fight. That ref was right in there splitting up that clinch. There was nothing going on the inside. That should be the kind of ref that Floyd Mayweather would want. Right? Certainly against the bigger, stronger man who we've seen rabbit punching, grabbing on the back of the head in the 15-second sample size from the Malinaggi sparring. Nope. Floyd Mayweather gave him Robert Byrd. Robert Byrd lets you go. He said he's going to move forward. He's given him 8-ounce gloves. So, and he's also the smaller man. So I think, in my opinion, Floyd has handed to Conor every possible way to win this fight. He's given him every single stylistic advantage before walking into the ring and saying, here, take these. I'm still going to beat you. Maybe this ultimately works against him and it causes his demise. But at the end of the day, I don't believe Floyd Mayweather is scared of Conor McGregor. Not one bit. If he was, I don't think we would have been we'd be back to 8-ounce gloves. I think Floyd is running the chessboard a lot more so than people are giving him credit for. We've just seen Conor McGregor selling this fight. I think he's done a fantastic job. Look at the media coverage. We've seen 75% of the time, I think we've seen McGregor, 25% we've seen Floyd. He's sitting back letting Conor sell pay-per-views, and boy, has Conor done a great job. But we've seen so much Conor McGregor. We've heard so much Conor McGregor analysis. Excuse me, we've heard so much about how Conor McGregor is going to be different and unorthodox, and Floyd's never seen anyone like Conor, and Conor hits so hard, and so many analysts are picking Conor that it's filtered down into the public. Look, man, whether or not you want to pick him, Conor McGregor, or not, this fight the odds should be 25-1, 50-1. Conor was a plus 350 last time I looked. This is straight Kool-Aid. right? I'm not saying Conor doesn't have a chance to win, because he does, but in my opinion, it's in the single percentile. And the fact that so many people are giving him not only a shot to win, but that have concluded he is going to not only win, but knock out a man that's never been defeated in his first ever professional boxing match, to me is huge media manipulation at its finest.
Well, I don't think so, because check this way. This is what I'm thinking about. Jose Aldo is undoubtedly a more dangerous human being than Floyd Mayweather. If Floyd Mayweather fought Jose Aldo would rip Floyd Mayweather to pieces. Even if it stayed just standing, Jose Aldo would have his way with Floyd Mayweather. Nonetheless, Conor McGregor dismantled the absolute pinnacle of the 145 division for how many years? One of the pound-for-pound best guys in seconds.
Yep.
And this guy would kill Floyd Mayweather. So this isn't even the toughest test that Conor McGregor has ever faced. He was at a striking disadvantage against Jose Aldo, at least I thought. And he came in and just put Jose Aldo away immediately. Conor McGregor, this isn't the hardest fight he's ever had, man. And as far as Floyd Mayweather goes, this is the most dangerous person he has ever stepped into a boxing ring with. And I think there's a mental aspect to that. I heard Conor McGregor and people say it, but it's true. Floyd Mayweather's life is in danger at every second in this fight. And when Conor McGregor starts to do that unorthodox, weird stuff, skipping, when he answers the bell, skipping out like he's going to throw a kick or something like that, I think that could fuck with Floyd's head a little bit, man, and bring out some things in him we've never seen, because he's dealing with a mental challenge that he's never dealt with, that if this guy wanted to, he would beat the shit out of me for real. And I don't know, man. I think that's an interest, and especially if he starts taking a beating in the clinch and the ref isn't acting, because Kenny Bayless won't be here. And Kenny Bayless is Floyd's personal, ref, NWO style, New World Order, Eric Bischoff style, man. They bring Kenny Bayless in to do the fight. He won't be here. What is he going to do when the ref isn't on his side like he thinks he should be, man? So,
Hey, why did Floyd agree to Robert Byrd if he's scared of Conor McGregor? Right? He's handed over many chips. He said, "Here, take these. They're in your hands." Maybe that works against him, but he has certainly given Conor McGregor a lot of strategical advantages before walking in the ring.
He's done a lot of ignorant. I think it's based. Maybe it's to show that he's not scared or something. But he's like a great army general, or like Hitler, or any of the guys that kind of their attempts at world domination fell apart at the very end because of some very terrible strategic and tactical errors. He's making all those things all those errors that great combatants who suffer the fall make. And that in hindsight, we're going to look back at this and say, why did he do this? Why did he do this? Why did he do that? All this stuff is the most terrible stuff that you can do, and he ignored it. And that's what it looks like to me.
I really enjoyed that. I think that was fantastic. I really liked the way you framed it. And you used the example and analogy of a world leader at the end of his run. But let's not forget about my man, Kobe Bryant. What did he do to the Houston Rockets in his last game out? Everybody said he was finished. Kobe can't shoot no more. Kobe can't play ball. And then he went out there and dropped 60 plus and beat the Rockets. They couldn't even get in the playoffs. So what if Floyd has one more in him? What if Floyd has one more in the tank, just like Kobe Bryant did, baby?
God, that was a regular season game.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. This is for all the
if you're going to use Hitler, if you're going to call Floyd Mayweather Hitler and use him as an example, certainly I can use Kobe Bryant.
No, that's combat. That's a fight. This is not combat. That's bad.
This is not basketball. This is not football. You're talking apples and oranges. This is not quantum physics. This is not MMA. This is not mixed martial arts striking. This is boxing. It's boxing. It's boxing. That's where people have really muddled this up. And this whole theory, I think, is going to be whitewashed tonight. And there's going to be a lot of people scratching their heads. Because, like I've said, if it doesn't work, his plan B is to box. He doesn't have a plan B. So it's like, oh, he's going to be unorthodox. What does that mean? What does that mean to you? And
All right.
Tell me what unorthodox looks like.
I don't.
And why?
Know. That's why. That's why it's so. Because you can't train for it. And I think he knows how to be unorthodox in an intelligent and effective way. And mixed martial arts provides you with unorthodox. It teaches you that what you thought was the way was not the way. So many mixed martial artists from so many disciplines have learned that, hey, that can work too. They don't teach it, but it can work. I just didn't think about it. And that's another thing about battles is the small, when you think about the British Empire versus the American revolutionaries, the British Empire did things typical because they thought, well, I've got the firepower, I've got this. The American revolutionaries did unorthodox. They did guerrilla warfare and overcame them. The Soviets and Americans in Afghanistan, the graveyard of empires, unorthodox strategies become the fall of great armies and empires. Throughout combat history, unorthodox, unthinkable, non-typical strategies and approaches to warfare usually are the downfall to the great impregnable empire. And I see that happening here with Floyd Mayweather.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm done.
And again, I like the analogies and the theories, but at what point do we look at overanalyzing, right? What is fighting built on? Not just fighting. Let's talk about boxing. What is boxing forged on? Fundamentals. They know what works inside the boxing ring. Guys know, and gals too, boxers know how to maximize their output by sitting down on their punches, turning them over. Conor McGregor's not the first guy to put weight on his lead leg. Conor McGregor's not the first guy to overextend. That's a great way for a fighter to step off the center line and you to catch a dirty counter. None of this stuff is really new. Long stances are not really new. Zab Judah was unorthodox. Augusto Burton was unorthodox. So what we know about boxing is that fundamentals work. Basics win fights. They know what works. They've seen this stuff. They've seen it before. I don't know that Conor McGregor is going to bring something so new to the table that it's going to be that it can ultimately end up being super effective. At the end of the day, it has to work. It has to work. And he has to beat him with these weapons. And if they don't work, he has to box. So I'm personally not sold on this unorthodox, unstructured stuff because I don't see it as being the reason if Conor McGregor gets out of here with a victory, why he's going to win. You've already outlined them. Floyd's 40. Conor hits hard. Conor's bigger and stronger. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage. Floyd's been on the bench 2 years. That's why, in my opinion, keeping it simple, apples and oranges, if Conor wins this fight, that's why. That's why I see Conor. That's where I give Conor the 9% in the single percentile. And Floyd the 91 based on the advantage of experience and reps. And at the end of the day, reps and experience mean a whole lot in the boxing ring.
Okay. A few other topics before we get out of here. Gervonta Davis misses weight by 2 pounds. He's been having trouble cutting weight. Is he over there eating all that good food with the money team and just saying, fuck it, what's Gervonta Davis on, man? It cost him his world title. I don't think it really matters with all the promotional hype he has and having Floyd Mayweather behind him. It's not going to cost him any money. But what's up with Gervonta Davis on the money team, man? He needs to stop sitting down for those illustrious team dinners with Mayweather I see on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are talking about it being a diet thing. I'm going to be honest and straight with you. I don't know enough about the young man to accurately speak on it or to give people a good take. And I don't like to speak on things or pretend I know about a fighter if I don't. That's just the God's honest truth. But it typically, with weight, a lot of the time comes down to discipline if it's not a physical issue. So obviously that's something he's going to have to look towards. Before we move forward, I just want to say thank you because although we haven't agreed on who wins this fight, you taught me a lot today. You brought some great stuff to the table. And despite the fact that I'm taking Mayweather, You taught me some things today, and I thank you for some deep thinking and some outside of the box perspective.
Doreen, mon ami. Of course, Kobe and LaRon Stephen sit out at the School of Black Negro Jitsu. It's gonna be some good analytical shit. What did you expect?
This was one of the best. This was one of the best back. This was maybe the best back and forth I've ever had. It was really good, man.
Oh yeah, it's always good at the School of Black Negro Jitsu. You must come and instruct more here.
Yes.
Oscar De La Hoya seems to be on another cocaine run. He's on Twitter talking trash and trying to ruin pay-per-view buys. He's playing. I think he's playing this. I say this. This is my theory. If this fight ends up being gutter garbage, then this could win him some fans. If it actually ends up being kind of good, then he's going to look like an ass. But if it's a circus, and I think he's planning on it being a circus or counting on it being a circus, Oscar De La Hoya is going to look like a genius at the end of this. What do you think about Oscar De La Hoya's approach to this? I think it's good promotional strategy. If Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather is going to piss people off, those people are going to want to spend money on something else and redeem themselves. And that's the Triple G versus Canelo fight. So, what do you think? Bad promotion by Oscar De La Hoya or good? I think he's taking a chance out here. It's 50-50. He's pulling the 50-50 here. What do you think?
So let me just be clear on what he's putting on the table. He's basically saying Conor McGregor is going to get worked, correct?
Basically saying that so that if it does happen, then he can capitalize by immediately selling his fight right when this is over. That was garbage, yuck, but come by my fight. It's gonna make you happy. He's trying to get that money out here. So it's a great promotional strategy. But if this is a good fight, people just look at it like, oh man, Oscar is a dickhead, but who cares? He's a promoter. Nobody will think about this 3 years down the road.
Everybody's trying to eat off this right now, right? Paulie Malinaggi showing up to pressers still, and you know what I mean? Like, you got all kinds of boxers coming out of the woodwork. Everybody wants to put their 2 cents in, but we need everybody's 2 cents. And it's like nobody from the boxing world's giving Conor a chance, and everybody from the MMA world's giving Conor a chance. Most people from the MMA world are picking Conor. So it's really about, I think, each side sticking with their own team. And really, in terms of the stuff with Oscar, I think you hit it right on the head. There's really not a lot more with it. I mean, he's going to try to capitalize off of this to make it some money, just like everybody else. But really, what's he doing at the end of the day, right? I think it's pretty much done for him.
I think it's a smart promotional strategy. There's some outlets to make a whole lot of money off of if this is a disaster or not. I think I'm gonna skip John Jones pissing hot because this is all Maymac all day. I guess I was gonna talk about that, but I'll save that for next week. Purses were revealed. Mayweather 100 million, McGregor 30 million. Is that about to be what's expected from the ticket sales? Is that right on par?
No, I think that's just their purses, right? I think at the end is that that's what you're saying? But we're not talking about pay-per-view buys or in-gate, none of that yet. Interesting, because you notice who's the A side still in all of this.
Yes, it's Floyd Mayweather, which is to be expected. I mean,
sure.
If Conor McGregor was fighting somebody else, he wouldn't be selling over 2 million.
They told us Conor was making more, if I'm not mistaken. That's 70-30. I mean, at the end of the day, we probably think that if it does as well as we expect it to, and we're in an age of piracy, there's a lot of fights stolen these days. So I don't know how that affects the numbers, but it will. The downloading, the streaming, the pirating, the boxes, that's going to impact the sales of this fight to some degree. But at the end of the day, I do believe Conor is going to make a boatload of money. And the UFC is probably going to take half of it. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a really nice payday for the Irishman. And he earned it. He earned it, man. He promoted.
I think it's going to break the record. Of really good fights result in big parties, big events surrounding the fight. So I don't think the streaming really affects things because everybody wants to hang out and watch the fight together. And who fuck wants to have a dirty stream when you bring people over the house? So people are going to be buying it. spending the $99 and charging people to come in $5 a piece or whatever. It's actually a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But I think at the end of the day, I think McGregor should take home 100 some odd million. Mayweather somewhere in the range of what is that? 200 some odd million or 300 million. So
250 if it breaks 4.6, I think they said in and around 250. It's going to be similar money to the Pacquiao fight if the numbers match up anyway. Conor might not make as much as Pacquiao did, but these are just projected numbers. Obviously, we're looking at just whatever we're reading. We don't know for sure, but yeah, I think you're right on par with what the media is telling us anyway.
Yeah, I think this is it's the most lucrative fight in history. Definitely good for both mixed martial arts and boxing, especially
for sure
if it's a good fight, especially if Conor McGregor comes in here and puts on a good showing. Very good for mixed martial arts in that this is not his sport. Will bring a lot of respect to it. I don't think I have too much else on the fight. Do you have any other topics here?
No, man, I've had a great time talking with you. I've got like 14 videos on my playlist for breakdowns. I've covered this from top to bottom. I've watched every bit of film and tape you could imagine. I've really enjoyed my coverage and my time watching and covering this fight, like I said, because I've learned so much. I think I was ignorant to Floyd's brilliance until I took a proper look down the periscope. I also got to watch Conor McGregor improve as a boxer. He might end up being a really good boxer. Whether or not he beats the greatest boxer of all time, we'll see that happens tonight. But this whole thing for me, it's been a learning experience.
I forgot one thing. Malinaggi and Conor McGregor, they are planning to make a lot of money because they've really been selling this sparring footage heat, and they're banking on this being a good fight and Conor McGregor being able to make some more money in the boxing world. Especially if Conor makes this close, or I think he'll win. You don't. Yep. But Conor McGregor is a brilliant promoter. He's always planning his next move. I remember when he was fighting, was it Aldo and Woodley was on the same card, or was he fighting Alvarez and Woodley was on the same card? And he's sitting there staring
Alvarez and Woodley.
He's staring Woodley down, and he's looking at different people, and he got into a verbal sparring match with Khabib. Like, this dude is always planning for the next fight. Like, he knows he's going to win this fight. I mean, he's supremely confident in his skills and what he's going to do. He's a very special human being. This Malinaggi card, if he would beat or be close with Floyd, that should be a fight that he could and should, I guess, definitely win. What do you think about the promotion skills of Conor McGregor? I think they're historically good. I mean, probably the best ever. Like I said, he's sold most of this fight. Floyd has sat back and let Conor work his magic and essentially make Floyd a whole bunch of money. All Floyd needs to do now is win, but Conor McGregor has done a bulk of the legwork here. But here's one of the issues with now looking at Conor boxing again. He's under exclusive contract with the UFC. For the first time ever in that company's history, they broke it. They wouldn't even co-promote with M1 to get Fedor. This was a one-off that they let Conor box. Unless there's something cooking underground, he's got a lightweight title he's responsible for defending. With all these fantasy matchups, we forget this guy's a world champion. And it's not just about Conor McGregor. It's about Khabib Nurmagomedov, Tony Ferguson, Kevin Lee, and the rest of the murderers that's just the killers on Murderers Row at 155. They're already talking about a Nate Diaz trilogy next, right? Nate Diaz is not next in line at 155, but they might do that. So I don't know that the UFC is going to let him just walk off and box whenever he wants to, because they lose so much money. I mean, he is the cash cow. And if he beats Floyd, they're not gonna have much of a choice because he's gonna have all the chips in his corner. But if he loses, then they're gonna have more control again. He only has 2 more fights with the UFC, and past that, he's going to be promoting his own mixed martial arts.
Yeah, fight. That's a good point. 2 more fights, but that could take, that could be a year, right?
Nah, he said he wants to do Khabib at the end of the year. That's one down, and probably another in March, and then it's McGregor Promotions, and whoever wants him to fight their guy is going to have to co-promote, which is the
Yeah.
way it should be for a giant mega star.
Yeah, and he might end up getting a piece of this company, but you put the asterisks on if he wins, right?
No,
That's the funny part.
No,
That's what
even
Dana
if he
said.
doesn't
If he
win,
wins,
he doesn't even need the
if he
company
knocks out,
past it.
sorry.
He doesn't need. I don't even think he needs the company, even if he loses. He can go and promote his own mixed martial arts fights and sell 1 million pay-per-view buys and make astronomical amounts of money.
The dude's brilliant.
Well, yeah, I mean, and he'll be the first modern day UFC star. Tito Ortiz, Rampage Jackson, if they were fighting today, they could have done something like this.
Right,
But they're not. So yeah, McGregor Promotions is about to be the thing, at least in that weight class. If you want the title, you're gonna have to go fight on McGregor Promotions. I think that's all for this podcast. I got one last treat for you guys, an interview I did with one of the top boxing MMA trainers out. That's Jason Parillo. I'm going to get to that now. He's trained Cyborg, Michael Bisping, BJ Penn. He was trying to convince me that Michael Bisping is going to beat GSP. I'm going to bring him back on, and maybe I can get Michael Bisping on too, and I can talk some sense in their head about how they're going to get smashed. But anyway,
Parillo's got Michael Bisping hitting hard, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they drinking the Michael Bisping Kool-Aid over
there. But I'll take GSP.
I will take GSP as well. Let's get right into this interview. Let's welcome Jason Parillo to the School of Black Negro Jitsu. Jason Parillo, welcome to the School of Black Negro Jitsu. It's excellent to have you here today. This is Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight week. So this is just perfect to have you, a boxing coach, on. You've coached some of the biggest stars in the UFC in multiple generations too. BJ Penn, Tito Ortiz from the old school, Michael Bisping, Chris Cyborg, Jessica Penn, more from the new school. How exactly did you get into coaching boxing in MMA? Did you used to box? And how were you able to cross over? What was the fighter that got you into MMA training? And do you still do boxing training?
I do work with boxers here and there, but my most of my business comes off of MMA. And yeah, I was a professional boxer myself. And as I was a professional boxer, we opened up a gym back in '92. That was kind of the guy that opened the gym, Sean McCauley. He was a no holds barred fighter, so he was really into, before MMA it was called no holds barred. They did it with bare knuckles and whatnot. So, he kind of had me around a lot of the guys that that were really involved in in today's MMA. So I had always been around it, and always kind of were helping guys back in the day, because I was, where I'm at, I was the only guy boxing. So all the kickboxers and the MMA guys, or no holds barred, or MMA, however you want to call it at the time, would come to me and work their boxing with me. So, I had an understanding of the MMA and the understanding of where you're vulnerable in other areas, early when I was boxing myself. So, the transition was kind of just, I guess, naturally happened. And then obviously I started working with BJ Penn, and he wins a world title and then defends the title a few times. So it kind of really catapulted me into making money, into working with MMA guys.
Okay, very interesting. How do you feel? What are some of the differences, especially considering this Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather matchup? What's the most important difference you think between the boxing and MMA game? What's the hardest thing that you've had to teach MMA fighters, or what's the thing that's crossed over best from boxing to MMA? That's probably the better question. But what are some things that, how do the two sports differ in your opinion? I guess I heard John McCarthy describe it as MMA is a three-dimensional sport, while boxing is more of a two-dimensional sport. I guess shots to the back of the head and the back and the kidneys are illegal. You can only really focus on the front of the person, which makes defense different. But what do you think of the big differences between the two styles of especially defense in both sports?
Well, I mean, obviously you're getting attacked from a lot of other angles, but the difference mostly is the distance. Really, the distance of an MMA fight is twice the distance of a boxing fight, if not more. Depending on the different style of the fighter. But with all that room to work with, you're working on obviously you got to defend yourself against a lot of other attacks as far as shots and takedowns and leg kicks and head kicks and flying punches and whatever Superman punches and the whole 9 yards. There's a whole you got a lot more arsenal to throw at the guy, but you also got a lot more room to play with, and you got a lot more distance, a lot more room to look at. So it's a little bit of an easier read, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? As far as a close quarters boxing match where you are only working with two tools, your left and your right hand, but you're up close and personal.
Right,
and,
right.
You're in position to get hit. You're in range to get hit at all times.
Now,
I mean, you're pulling out and in, and the better the fighters get, the closer they get, as they go up in levels.
So you think that the real difference in between a high-level boxer and a lower-level boxer is the ability to fight on the inside. I heard you talk about how Floyd Mayweather is an excellent infighter.
Right. Well, he's got reflex like a cat, and he's reading you like a book. He's in there and he's seeing, and he knows where he's at all times, and he knows where he's vulnerable at all times, and and it is a lot closer distance that he's fighting. You got a lot smaller ring. You got to remember this MMA cage. You got a 30-foot cage. There's a lot. I mean, when I work my guys out in the box, I got a boxing in my gym. I got a boxing ring and I got a cage. When I get in the cage, you feel like you got twice as much space. You got plenty of room to move in there. Maybe you need a little bit more room because you're fighting at a further distance, but there's a lot of room in there. In boxing, you're in close quarters. You got a smaller area to move, and you only have two tools to work with, but you're right up there in the face, and you got to stay in there and work for the full 36 minutes you're in there.
Now, just getting into this McGregor versus Mayweather matchup, you've been able to train, I guess, guys in boxing and kind of help them sharpen their skills for MMA fights. But this challenge that McGregor is taking is absolutely outstanding. I think he's been training for it for about a year or so. I don't remember the exact date of his last fight. But if you were bringing a guy like McGregor, who's got some boxing experience, not the most, over to the boxing game to face one of, or if not the best fighter in that business, how long would you want to work with them to have them ready for that fight? I heard Freddie Roach say about 3 years to learn what you need to learn in order to be able to compete. What would be your timetable for that? Because Conor McGregor he's been training for this about 8 to 12 months. What would be your timetable?
Well, it's funny calling it a timetable, because really, I mean, okay, let's say you say 3 years. Let's say you go off what Freddie says and say 3 years. Are you just working? Because I don't know. I think, how much how much development is actually going to happen in the gym, the difference between 18 months and 3 years. Now, in 3 years, if you got him, let's say 6 fights in 3 years, that's what I would want to do. I mean, and of course, you'd be risking millions of dollars, and you wouldn't want to go that direction because, he's got a one shot here at $100 million. He goes fight a 4-round fight, and some scrub kicks his ass. You lost millions of dollars, right? But, I would prefer to see, see how he reacts in the firing line. Not that we haven't seen him react in the firing line with MMA and whatnot, but, realistically, timeline's a hard thing to gauge. I think if that's going to be his only fight and that fight's going to happen, how much longer do you want than a year? Because realistically, he's going to fight, and I don't know. Hopefully he's doing the right things in the gym, and hopefully, see, for me, I would have liked to see him go around more boxing people, not disrespecting the crew of guys that he has with him and the coach staff that he has, but experience is the biggest difference in this fight is experience. All right, it's bottom line.
And
Yes, age.
okay. So you don't think that it's an edge for him to have an unorthodox approach to this? Because I think it's usually an unorthodox approach that deals with the Philly shell the best. It's the overhand punches, chopping punches, things that Maidana was doing, volume. It's very hard to deal with a fighter who fights out of that defensive shell and who's got really cat-like reflexes and can get those counters real quick and score, and prevent you, even if you are landing punches, from landing punches that are effective by the Marcus of Queensberry rules and that score. You might be landing, but it's not making an impression on the judges. You don't think that this is a good thing that he's going to bring his unorthodox approach into this fight? I think it's the only chance that he realistically has without taking the advice that you said and taking a bunch of fights and getting sharp for boxing.
Right. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I guess it's the best way you got to look at it, because you look at Maidana, who gave him a fit and was as unorthodox as you can get. What I thought benefited a guy like Maidana was his herky-jerky, non-rhythmatic style. You got to remember, McGregor also is very rhythmatic, the way he moves, and he's awkward and whatnot. And I think a guy with rhythm can pick up on another guy that has rhythm a little bit easier than a guy that's all over the fucking place, if you know what I mean. And yeah, I get what you're saying, but there's also there's more to it than that, though. There's a deeper grind and there's a deeper trench you got to dig into than just be awkward, than just come at crazy angles and whatnot. Like, if you're in an environment where everybody's clinging on to every word that you say, you're not, you might not be in the best environment with unless you have the experience to have everybody at the end of your word. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making sense, but what happens is, like, we're looking at footage of this guy going to war with Paul Malinaggi, who's been out of the game for a long time, and everybody in the boxing world respects Paul Malinaggi. But what weight was he a world champion at? 35 or 40?
Something like that. I'm not
something
a boxing
like that.
guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're talking about a smaller guy that, and that may, hopefully for me, the way I look at it, because I want to see an entertaining fight, hopefully that wasn't his rough and tough sparring. Hopefully that wasn't the pinnacle and peak.
Why do you say that?
Because it doesn't make sense to me. Because now you're just now you're going off in a fancy. There's guys in these gyms, these boxing gyms, man, with 10, 15 fights that are going to be fucking, that'll whoop Paul Malinaggi's ass right now with the shape he's in his life. Boxing's a funny motherfucker. You're out of that. You get out of the gym for 6 months. You come back in. You get with these guys that are sharpening their tools every second of every day. They're breathing, eating, shitting, wiping their ass boxing. You know what I mean? Like, this is their fucking life. They breathe it. Paulie walk into go down to Wild Card here in Hollywood. You go down in the room downstairs in Freddie's little room down there, and there's a few guys in there with 20 fights that you've never heard of in your life. But fuck, you better bring your lunch, because these guys they'll kick the shit out of you. You know what I mean? And Mayweather would have, McGregor would have everything he wants going in a situation like that. You can't. That's a preparation that you got to be able to be prepared for. Yes, okay, hitting guy from all of a sudden, let's say he's hitting him from angles. Boom, some awkward angles. He's touching him. By the way, you're touching a guy with a good beard that's been hit by the best, been hit by De La Hoya, been hit by Canelo Alvarez, been hit by Shane Mosley, been hit by everybody. This guy's been hit by people. You know what I mean? This guy takes a sock to the grill. You know what I mean? And okay, so you got this awkwardness, and he starts touching him, and he starts hitting him. And he's touching him, but he's not making a mark. And the gas, as he goes, the gas starts going down, and then he's getting in this nitty gritty fucking grind that happens in boxing that I'm hoping he put himself through. I hope he put himself with little quick. Malinaggi isn't the guy he was when he was 28 years old, the same age as McGregor. The speed isn't the same. The speed ain't certainly isn't the fucking same as fucking Floyd Mayweather. I'll tell you that much. And his power isn't the same as Floyd Mayweather. His slickness isn't the same. His movement, his legs, his foot speed, all of it is just not like it's not even it's not a comparable the way each guy's been managed, the way that Paulie went through his career, and the way that Floyd Mayweather fought the best of the best. He did. It sucks to say, but I'm sorry. The guy did, dude. He fought everybody and beat them.
And okay, now let me ask you about this though. With the addition of referee Robert Byrd, I'm thinking that this has more of a potential to be more of a fight than a boxing match, and that instead of just 2 points of contact being relevant, in fact, because a short technical hook often does involve elbows, like Floyd Mayweather was landing on Victor Ortiz in their fight, which is why Victor Ortiz headbutted him. I'm thinking 4 to 5 points of contact, some Sean Porter style face grinding could be in play here. And with Conor being a bigger man, that could be a nightmare for Floyd. And is what I'm thinking wrong? Will 4 points of contact be in play, or will just 2 be in play? What's the reality of Conor McGregor being able to slip in elbows off hooks?
Well, what's the reality of Mayweather being able to slip elbows on hooks himself? You just said it. He was pulling them off on Victor Ortiz, and nobody was calling him on it. You got to remember, boxers can fight too. I know they're not kicking, and they're not kicking. They're not trying to get you away from kicking you in the leg and trying to break you down because they don't want to get in they don't want to get in exchange with you. Elbows can go both ways. God bless him. If he can get in there and slip his little elbows in there, God bless him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not hating on Conor McGregor. I'm not rooting against Conor McGregor. Matter of fact, I'm fine with Conor McGregor winning. His manager Audie is a really good friend of mine, and I would be fucking ecstatic for him, mostly him, because I know him. I don't know Conor on a personal basis, but nothing would bother me if he won the fight. It'd be pretty fun conversation at the fucking water cooler the next day, now wouldn't it? If he won the fight.
So
but
yeah,
it's just
if Kenny Bayless was going to be the ref, I was going to be worried because Kenny Bayless is, to me, he's like the NWO style ref that works for Floyd Mayweather and serves his purposes during fights. I don't know if I'm crazy, but is that the right observation? Kenny Bayless seems to be on the payroll over at TMT.
Well, I mean, when you see him reffing over 20, 30 of his fights, I mean, you got to assume something, right? I don't know how many is. Yeah, I mean, come on. There's smoke, there's fire. But I don't know how much. I think sometimes people are out thinking this situation too. I think everybody's looking for every fucking detail. The 8-ounce glove, this and that. I mean, these two guys got to go in there, sit in front of each other, feel each other's energy, and figure out what's going on in there. And and I know experience for one. It's hard to bet for me against experience. And experience at that level and experience at that guy could have a tremendous amount. You can go. Conor can go in there with a guy with 30 fights, 40 fights, but with a tremendous amount of experience. But just the skill set could be just at a. This guy's skill set's tremendous. It's the best. Even though he's a 40-year-old man.
And that's another thing. He's a 40-year-old man here. He hadn't fought in 2 years. He's lightened the gloves, and we've got a ref that allows lots of roughhousing. This is the way that legends lose fights, because the reality of especially combat sports is that as you get older, you don't get better. You start to deteriorate. It's just natural. And Floyd Mayweather is exposing himself to some risks that I don't know if he would have faced when he was 20-something. And I see him on the All Access is drinking soda and eating Burger King. He's doing a lot of the things that he's been doing since he was a kid. And when are those things going to start to catch up with you? He's not acting like a 40-year-old man taking immaculate care of his body like a Bernard Hopkins, making sure he's getting all the right nutrients and things like that. you know, what his habits are consistent. I mean, he's doing what made him a champion. But when you're 40, you got to do a little bit more and start to adjust things, man. What do you think about his irresponsible ways in his camp?
I think that there's this little saying called smoke and mirrors. And I think Floyd Mayweather has more experience doing this shit than any of us talking about it. And I think at the end of the day, he's looking at cameras that he knows when they're on him, and he knows when they're not on him, and he knows exactly what he's doing. Boxing, boxers been playing fucking mind games with each other for many, many decades, dude. Many, 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 many years. And this is smoke and mirrors what Floyd Mayweather's doing for you, my friend. That guy's in fucking spectacular shape, dude, guaranteed. And he's never abused himself. He's never, you look at guys in the game of world champions in any of these sports, and a lot of them like to have some fun, and they like to go the wrong way and abuse themselves and not live the healthiest life. And I don't see that he's the type of guy that's done that. Maybe eating Burger King and doing shit like that, sure. You know what I mean? But when he was eating Burger King on his little All Access show, that was specifically for you. You know what I mean? It was specifically for you to say that. Honestly,
you think so?
1,000%. If you had a gun to my head and my answer was wrong or right, you go shoot me in the head, I would say that motherfucker was playing some games, dude. It doesn't mean
I honestly
doesn't mean he
think
can't.
that like 90% of the stuff that Floyd does on camera is a bunch of bullshit in order to further this character that he's made up. Am I right? I think I'm right.
Sure, but sometimes he doesn't know what character he wants to play. Like he's been the bad guy, but he tries to be the good guy, and he's not allowed to be the good guy. He's trying to go any avenue he can, but at the same time, his main objective is to win a fight, and his main objective is to get his millions of dollars and be victorious. And when it comes down to it, you don't want to, he's not waking anybody. He's keeping everybody a little bit sleepy, and that's what he's doing. He's letting everybody be asleep. What is he gonna be out in the fucking? What does he want, the all access cameras in there? You see him throwing 1,500 punches. In a few, just gunning shots and whooping Kiai's ass and fucking talking shit and pimping him all over the gym. He's not going to show you that. Why would he do that? Why would he, there's betting odds on this fight as well now, aren't there? So,
Yeah.
From what I understand, 95% of the bets have gone to Conor McGregor, because it's just a better play because of the spread of the money or the spread of the odds. So, yeah, Mayweather's down for the cause here. He's down for the money as well. He's not taking McGregor lightly. I don't think he would take anybody lightly. He doesn't want to lose up there. He's too vain. He doesn't want to have that. He doesn't want to have a mark. He's doing it for the boxing too. Floyd Mayweather loves boxing, and he knows the people of boxing, have their thoughts about him, and maybe he's not always been the most liked guy in the community of boxing, but let me tell you this: after this fight, everybody in boxing would come up and fucking give Floyd Mayweather a big hug because.
Now, why do you think that? I think he gets upset, man. I think that just it's too many variables here that have come up at the last minute that make the potential for upset, especially if now this is what I think, Parillo. This is my theory. Boxing is at a lack of elite athletes at this point in its history. When you look at boxing history 30, 40 years ago, the pool of athletes was absolutely spectacular. I mean, just look at the heavyweight division Foreman, Ali, Frazier, Norton. Top flight, top of the line athletes, probably maybe the best in all of sports. When I look at boxing now, I'm hearing a lot of guys that are talking about a lifetime worth of experience, a lifetime worth of building skills. I'm not hearing about the elite athletic pedigree that you hear about in the NBA, in the NFL. And I'm thinking that boxers really do truly believe that athleticism and strength and God-given talent is something that's not important in their sport. And I feel like Floyd Mayweather, a lot of people that he's faced, Marcos Maidana, Juan Manuel Marquez, these are the best boxers in the world, yes, but not the very best athletes in the world. And Conor McGregor is one of the best athletes in the world. And I really do think that plays a big factor. Considering that Floyd Mayweather's athleticism, which has constantly been his edge throughout his career, is declining because of his age. Am I thinking wrong? Thinking Floyd Mayweather has constantly been a big fish in a small pond of the athletic talent pool of boxing, or am I right?
You're wrong.
Yeah, I'm wrong. Okay. Oh, explain why. Explain. I think Andre Berto is an average athlete. I think a lot of these guys are just so athletes. But tell me why I'm wrong.
No, well, how can you say that? Because have you thrown them a football or a baseball and saw how they reacted to it? Like a good athlete is athletic, right?
Right.
He's coordinated as all get out. You don't think Andre Berto's coordinated? That motherfucker's probably coordinated as hell. I don't know. I don't know myself.
He looks kind of clunky, man. He looks like his I don't know how to. I used to play college football and stuff, so I've seen a lot of great athletes, And
well, he's developed a boxing. Everything that these guys are developing is towards their sport specific. You know what I mean? So even if there's athleticism thing, they could tweak their own athleticism just trying to be a better boxer. I think Canelo Alvarez is probably a hell of an athlete. I think any of these athletes that are able to take, if you're able to mentally and physically get to the level that these guys do in the game and the competition they're in, obviously, there's athleticism there and there's a will there to succeed at what they want to do. And they chose boxing, and that's the way they went. I understand what you're saying, and in this whole, the hype train, I don't want to hate on Conor McGregor because I actually like the guy. You know what I mean? I appreciate it. I think every fighter wishes they could act the way Conor McGregor acts. I think that's the Muhammad Ali. That's just what it is. It's just that self-confidence is something that every fighter, wants to, just own. And that's what he does. He owns self-confidence, but his accolades, are great. He's a 2-division world champion, but I look at the you want to talk about athleticism and the people that Floyd Mayweather has faced. He's faced some very good athletes. Okay. Oscar De La Hoya is an Olympic champion.
Oscar De La Hoya was old at the time. Asterisk.
There's a stiffness. There might have been a stiffness to him,
Shane Mosley was old. Asterisk. That's what I'm talking about, man. We get these asterisks. Conor McGregor is not an asterisk. This is a guy in the prime of his career.
I'm gonna tell you, asterisks. I want you to after we hang up on this thing, I want you to go look at his top 5 knockouts. Okay, a lot of them. Okay, he does use kicks to set up some of them. Yes. Right. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. I want you to look at the competition he's knocking out. Yes, Jose Aldo's a beast. Yes, Alvarez is a beast. Chad Mendes. I mean, I think these are 3 of the guys. One of the top 2 are
talking
guys.
Talking about Marcus Brimage and guys like that.
Yeah, I'm talking about guys that, can you imagine them in a boxing ring? You know what I mean? So you're looking at like the skill level that Conor is knocking out with his hands. Okay, so if Chad Mendes and let's say Chad Mendes, because he's shorter than Floyd Mayweather, obviously not as quick and not as skillful as far as being a boxer, but he was touching McGregor. He was touching McGregor a lot. You know what I mean? On their feet, not just on the ground when he got on top of him. He was touching them. He was landing. Okay, so reflexes like a cat is interesting. I use that term quite a bit actually, and I love that term. Floyd Mayweather has reflexes like a cat. Conor McGregor has tremendous reflexes. And when you're fighting at a further distance, like I talked about in the beginning of this conversation, he's sitting there reading, let's say, Alvarez, a good 6 inches to a foot further out than he would Floyd Mayweather, per se. You know what I mean? So he's got a little bit more time and a little bit more space and a little bit more room to read what's going on. All right? So his athleticism shines because he is more athletic than these guys. I'm not saying he's not more athletic than these guys. I'm talking about the level of guys that he's displaying his athleticism to all of us in front of. What he's displaying his athleticism to is not the same level of fighter and competitor and experience and athleticism. I think Floyd Mayweather is a better athlete than all these guys still today at 40 years old. Okay, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you can call me crazy. I think a lot of people believe that. Actually, I think I'm talking about the majority that would be thinking this way. Um, but this is where I feel that if you're looking at straight athleticism, then we're fucked because we're in a fight still, and that's going to go back to what I said also earlier in the conversation with the nitty gritty, with it just being Paul Malinaggi, not getting in there with these tough guys, these other caliber of athletes, fighters that are hungry today and pushing themselves today, and at that level, and athleticism or not, you could be the great. Michael Jordan's a hell of a fucking athlete. There's
Mm-hmm.
football players out there that you play college ball. It's hell of fucking athletes. They'll fucking become a pea heart. You fucking crack him in the face a couple times. You know what I
True.
mean? I don't give
This
a
is
shit
true.
how, I don't give a shit how much of an athlete you are. And in fairness to say, and God bless it, again, I'm not hating on Conor McGregor. I'm talking fucking facts. I watched Nick Diaz touch him a few times and cause him to shoot. You know, and when you shoot and you're a stand-up fighter and that's not your game, tells everybody that you don't like what's going on and you're trying to get out of the situation you're in. And that's more back to the nitty-gritty that we're talking about. And it didn't matter how much athleticism. Clearly, he's a better athlete than Nate Diaz. If you look at the two human beings move and showcase their movement and their style of a fighter. Yes, 100%.
All right.
But
Oh, well, go ahead. Go. Keep going. Keep
no,
going.
no,
My
no.
fault.
Go. I hope am I answer your question when I said no? I think you're wrong. And do you understand what I'm saying too?
Oh
And
yeah,
we
yeah,
can
yeah.
agree. We can agree to disagree on it, but hopefully I'm making a little bit of sense with
Oh, you're
what I
making
said.
loads of sense. It's great points, great points. I just see things and then I say, am I crazy or not? It might be biased. I don't know. But I think, let me see, what else do I have for you? What was with this talk you think of Conor McGregor being heavy? Do you think it's true or false? You think there's some credence to it, being 165 a few days out? Or is Floyd
He's
Mayweather
fine.
just,
He's
you,
fine.
okay, all right.
If he's 164, who's he got to be 154?
Yep,
He's 10 pounds over. He's 10 pounds over 2 3 days before he's fine. He does that. I mean, I most of my fighters fucking are dropping 10 to 12 pounds the last couple of days. I mean
right.
and maybe that's more. And a lot of boxers. I mean, Arturo Gatti used to do quite a bit of weight. I mean, boxers maybe not as much as MMA guys, but there's a lot of wrestlers that come into MMA, and wrestlers are pretty known for doing the weight fluctuation.
Okay, and I think my last question here, I don't think I have too much more for you, um, is if either guy wins, how do you envision it coming to pass? Give me let's do McGregor first and then give me Mayweather, the your routes to victory for each. If you have more than one route to victory, just give me all the ways you see this fight going.
All right, let me see. Let me see. I see. Okay, McGregor. Let's completely just look at a way that I could see McGregor winning. Maybe he goes out there and I mean, obviously, I'm gonna say if he puts a rough, tough fight on him and is able to absorb McGregor or Mayweather's counters and really just kind of builds momentum all throughout the fight and kind of breaks breaks Mayweather down, being the bigger guy, hanging on him, tiring him out, and which is still going to be a very tough thing to do. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's the way I envision him. Like if he can go in there and, like you said, he slide his elbows across his face and really make it a really ugly style fight, and then and still be able to keep his gas tank, and then make adjustments if he has to. Maybe if he's making a rough tough fight, it's not successful for him. He's able to make adjustments and start timing Mayweather a little bit. Which is tough to do because Mayweather usually lets you lead. So. Um, it, lucky shot is a tough thing to say at that level, but I'd like to see Conor go in there and walk the walk that he's talked. But it's really hard for me to get my mind around how he's going to go about it. I mean, it'll be really. I mean, you never know. Maybe sit back and drop step his left hand and
What
clean.
about those broken hands? I forgot to mention that. What do you
Oh,
think
that you
about
know
that,
what?
especially with the lighter
Hey,
gloves?
you just actually answered my question. I don't know how that escaped my mind. my coach talks about it all the time. My old boxing coach, how brittle his hands is. You know, if he can walk him down as he's making an ugly fight, I can see him walking him down and really smothering him, and dropping his forehead into those hands, and dropping his elbows into those hands, and dropping his forearms into those hands, and maybe bust his hand. It sounds crazy, but if he goes in there and tries to bust the guy's hands up a little bit, it can make it a long night for Mayweather.
Okay, and what about Mayweather's presumed route to victory? How do you see it come to pass if Mayweather takes it?
I see Mayweather going out. I see Mayweather going out at him similar to the way he went out against Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez was the bigger, stronger guy. Yes, he was a righty, but that to me is not really making that big of a difference in my mind really on it. I saw him walk out and he stood in front of Canelo Alvarez and let him know he was there. I see that's what Mayweather. That's what I see Mayweather going out there, letting McGregor know the presence that he has in front of him. Not letting him think that he's going to be playing some type of cat and mouse game the whole fucking fight, and walking and chasing the guy down, and just missing and just trying to make it a rough, tough fight. I see him going down there, letting him know he's there, and I see him start breaking him. I see him breaking him down to the body in the first 2 rounds. In all honesty, I see him hitting that left hook to the liver quite a bit, and he likes to shoot that right hand to the body and come over the top of the right hand. I see him just really, I see him by the second or third round taking Conor to school.
Okay, School of BlackNegroJitsu, baby. All right, Parillo, I need you to stay on the line because I need those fight picks from you. But thank you for your contribution to the School of BlackNegroJitsu today. This is perfect timing for this big fight. This is, of course.
Wait. Tell me the name of this show. What is it called?
It is the School of BlackNegroJitsu.
Oh, man. I couldn't be fucking more proud than to be on this show, for God's sakes, dude.
Isn't that the most original shit? It's like, I guess Thug Jitsu's taking redneck judo. I'm Black Negro Jitsu. That's fucking stands out.
Hey, it's better. You one up to everybody. You just one up to everybody.
But yeah, stay on the line, and I'm gonna get those fight picks from you. But thank you so much, guys. Hey, you got any shout outs or any links or anything you want to send out real quick?
Nah. Hey, nothing. I make sure you watch my champ Michael Bisping beat GSP November 4th. It's about as much as I got.
You really think that's going down like that, man?
It's my fighter, man. What do you mean?
Man. I figure Bisping's gonna get slaughtered, man. Do you think? Well, how do you think?
What is going through your mind?
How do you think Bisping is gonna beat GSP, man?
Stefan. Oh my God, French. I forgot. I'm talking to a motherfucking Frenchman. Of course. Of course.
Man. So you believe Bisping is going to... that's right. Je parle le français très bien. Man, you really think Bisping is going to... What is his route to victory here? That's what I want.
What do you mean, I think? Is that a real question? No, I coach him, but you know what? I actually think he's going to lose, but you know what? I'm just going in there to get paid. Of course I think he's going to... What do you mean? Do you think I thought he was going to beat Luke Rockhold? I knew he was going to, and guess what he did? He did. You know what I mean?
I wasn't shocked by that. I thought that was very realistically to possibly go down.
Okay. But you got to remember, Mike is the underdog against GSP, but he's going to beat GSP. I mean, you got to remember, GSP hasn't been in a fight in 4 years. You know
real
that,
talk.
Right?
Yes, real talk. But it's GSP, man. He's like He's like
Conor McGregor to you. He's the same thing. You fucking you're a Kool-Aid drinking motherfucker, man.
Check this out. When GSP was headlining cards and doing main events, like Bisping was like fighting on. They didn't have Fight Pass yet, but he's fighting on the prelims and stuff like that, man. Like it's levels to this. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody goes different routes, dude. And listen, if we want to compare notes, we could talk about the competition they've been in there with. You know what I mean? And then we'll match up to just let every guy that you walk up. We'll put 10 of GSP's opponents side by side with 10 of fucking Michael Bisping's opponents side by side.
I tell you what. pre-fight, can we do this and talk about this, all this stuff?
Oh, you know I want to talk about, especially with the Frenchman. Are you kidding me? I'll be excited.
We're going to do that. Like I said, stay on the line so I can get these picks from you. But thank you so much for coming on today. Next time.
It, bro.
All right, awesome.
Good talking to you, man. All right.
Yeah.